Virtual Boy. See it now in 3D.
So after the video on the Apple Pippin, I realized something. In one part of the video, I mentioned how the Apple Pippin's technology was similar to VR. It was just really in its infancy stage. And while I was thinking about that, I realized something. I never made a video talking about the Virtual Boy. But technically, I can't say that anymore because now I'm making a video on the Virtual Boy. So cross out what I just said. Anyways, in 1985 in Massachusetts, a company called Reflection Technology Incorporated, or RTI, I'm just going to call it RTI because that's easier, developed something called Scan Linear Array, which is basically the red LED display that we see on the Virtual Boy, and it pops out sometimes. And RTI wanted funding for this and also to make partnerships with it. Similar to how the guy that made the motion controls for the Wii wanted a partner, so RTI showed this off to a ton of companies. They showed it off to Hasbro, Mattel, Sega, and of course Nintendo. So all but Nintendo declined the idea. Sega's reason, and I'm pretty sure Mattel's and Hasbro's reason were the same. Sega's issue with it was that it was only one color, and they also feared about medical reasons like motion sickness. But apparently Gunpei Yokoi, the guy that made the Game & Watch and the Game Boy, realized that this is a good idea. He was also the general manager of research and development, and he saw some hope for this technology. The reason Nintendo wanted to do this wild idea was really just to be unique from the pack. So Nintendo partnered up with RTI and got a license to use the displays. Though there were a lot of employees at the research and development team that were working on the N64, there were a few that were able to work on Project VR32 as it was called at the time, and they began just throwing ideas for it. And Nintendo was so confident that this was a good idea that they even had a dedicated manufacturing plant in China. Red remained as the color because Gunpei Yokoi said that it was the cheapest. An LCD would be expensive, costing $500. So yeah, if there was an LCD, this thing would probably be as much as the Apple Pippin, which was like $600. Also, the LCDs had some jumping screen issues. I have no idea what that means, but Gunpei Yokoi will be Gunpei Yokoi. But there was also fear from Nintendo. Japan had made a new Product Liability Act, and Nintendo was also afraid of motion sickness and even developing lazy eyes, so Nintendo removed the head tracking from the Virtual Boy. But yeah, as we know today, it's just stationary, it just stands on a table. It's basically putting a display up to your eyes. In 1994, the Virtual Boy was revealed to the public. Nintendo's price for the Virtual Boy was $180, which I guess is decent. It's not the worst thing ever in the world, but it's still pretty high. And on July 21st of 1995, the Virtual Boy was released. It would later release in America on August 16. For the Christmas season, only 350,000 units were shipped, and after that, sales quickly just ripped. But the Virtual Boy did so bad that Nintendo actually discontinued the Virtual Boy for Japan in 1995, and the Virtual Boy came out in 1995, but in America it would be discontinued in 1996. At the end of its life cycle, the Virtual Boy only managed to sell 750,000 units. It hasn't even been a year yet, and the Nintendo Switch has sold 5 million. So yeah, this wasn't good. Now, believe it or not, the Virtual Boy did have competition, a very shitty competition, because its competition was actually worse than the Virtual Boy. Like, this is the worst VR console ever, and it was Tiger's R-Zone, and I've actually made like a whole video on all of Tiger's fails, because literally like every single console that they've released is a fail. The biggest issue though with the Virtual Boy, like I said at the beginning of the video, is that the technology was just too young. That, and also it barely had any games, and it looked horrendous. All that it was really was just a Game Boy up to your eye. Also, for a lot of people it caused headaches, so playing it wasn't really the easiest thing to do. Now, as we've seen, that has happened again with the Wii U. There wasn't really a purpose to get a Wii U. Clearly the reasons were different. But when we look now at the Switch, there is a reason for it to exist. It's for the person that wants to play Nintendo console games, both at home and on the go. Even though it is a gimmick, it is a gimmick that makes sense. But when you have a gimmick that doesn't make sense and doesn't work, then it really shouldn't be sold in the first place. And for years and decades to come, the Virtual Boy will always haunt Nintendo and the Wii U, even though the Wii U was better than the Virtual Boy. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
we can